Welcome to Lovecars on the Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup. We look back at a weekend of rallying in fast Finland, MotoGP from Silverstone, and Sportscars action from Road America. But first, the Red Bull saga keeps filling the headlines as finally a big name goes.
It's gone, Perez. It's gone.
No, Jonathan Wheatley. Perez is still there. How is Perez still there? We missed it last week.
I know.
On the podcast
we did our
by
podcast.
About half an hour.
But everybody else was saying the same as us. He's got to go. He's got to go. Well, this is the thing you have to start analysing, because I tweeted a bit about this, that you just realise how big and money-orientated F1 is. You know, how much the Liberty push teams, Liberty are sales down for Mexican Grand Prix at the end of the year. This is why I fear that, Zhao will be back in some team because Liberty will want this Chinese driver in. But even if it's not Liberty pushing, it's sort of, everybody says, well, Perez brings money, which we all know he has done traditionally throughout his career. But then I thought, well, why does Red Bull, one of the top teams, get themselves into that? Yeah, get themselves. But no, right. So you're saying like that, like the tweeters do.
No, I'm saying they've got loads of money.
They've got money,
so
exactly. Yeah. So and also, apparently to win no money's ever printed, but apparently to win the constructors' title, it's worth 140 million. And if you're second, it's 110 million. So first to second's a 30 million gap. Now, if Perez is only bringing only bringing 30 million, why have they got themselves in such a situation that a driver can dictate that he keeps his seat because I've got a contract and I'm paying you?
Well, I heard it was more about the popularity in Mexico, not the money he brings. You don't know who to believe. But all I know to believe is that it's hard to believe that Perez is still there from his underperforming. And I really hope, I like Max and how he drives, or not how he drives, but how successful he is, how good he is, I should say.
Yeah.
But I really hope that he keeps winning, do what you want, make it competitive. But I hope Red Bull lose the championship. Because
I hope McLaren now win. McLaren, we're all rooting for the papaya to beat the orange. But, of course, this, inside Red Bull, the stories go on. This Jonathan Wheatley leaving, he's the what's his title? He's the sporting director. And of course, I'd forgotten he was the man that did most of the phoning to Massey in Abu Dhabi. He was the one that was putting pressure on Massey to say, come on, we got a race. Come on. It wasn't so much Horner. We heard Horner because that goes down the sort of direct route to the driver. But it was this Wheatley man. Anyway, after 18 years, it's pretty long, he's off to join Matteo Binotto to run Audi next year. But, again, this smoke...
But Jonathan Wheatley, it's not a hit. You got to say, fair play to him for convincing Michael Massey. Michael Massey was at fault, not Jonathan Wheatley. Jonathan Wheatley got on
Wheatley was doing his job,
Absolutely, brilliant.
In a dirty sort of way, trying to encouraging the race director to jump the rule book isn't exactly sporting, is it, Mr. Wheatley?
I mean, how did that even happen?
But the other point is going back to the Horner thing, is apparently they were saying Horner had gone in January, February, March, whenever the scandal appeared. He was the one that would have taken over Horner's job. So maybe now that the Horner hasn't gone, he hasn't got the job, so he's decided, well, I'll go elsewhere. So, and then going back to this scandal, I mean, nobody writes or mentions anything about the appeal that the young lady made for the dismissal, unfair dismissal. Nobody writes about a date for it. She was also going to appeal to the FIA, wasn't she? I think she put in an appeal to the FIA to say she'd been maltreated at Red Bull. And bizarrely, the season goes on and on. Nobody. I went looking on the internet to see any update on ladies' complaint. Nothing. It's just been hidden under the biggest carpet.
It's so funny what happens in the media. I mean, I don't want to sort of digress too much, but that whole the lad in Tenerife, what was his name that went missing? Jay Slater. And
yes.
Massive media thing. There's a lad in Bristol called Jack O'Sullivan, 23 years of age. He went missing in Bristol in March. And have you ever heard of it? Nothing on the media at all.
He fell in the water. He fell in the water.
Exactly. Something like that probably happened. Sadly, but nothing. But Jay Slater, there's this massive some things just get brushed under the carpet, don't they? Some things don't get spoken about if they're not popular. And how has that been brushed under the carpet?
I know.
With
why is she not going to the press and saying I've appealed? Well, she signed a non-disclosure. I think we learned that early on. I think they bunged us some money. I don't know. I'm guessing. We all have to guess, don't we? But when we've all read an appeal will be coming, you would have thought that especially the specialist motorsport press would have been chasing that up and saying, well, when's this appeal happening?
Maybe. Okay, so I've got some more gossip. It's not really gossip because I think it's public, but Logan Sargent, he looks like he's going to be in IndyCar next year, talking to a couple of manufacturers already. So
perfect,
good for him. That is perfect.
Keep racing. Yeah. Actually, one other story I've got, taking on the Audi. I was just reading this in Motorsport magazine, the best motoring magazine out. If you don't buy Motorsport magazine once a month, you should be. It was just a story about Audi, because, of course, I keep on campaigning. We both say, let's keep the current regulations for another year, dump 2026, because next year should be brilliant, and we should have 2 brilliant years 2.5 if we just postponed. But, of course, manufacturers like Audi have invested in joining the club and employing expensive people and developing their engine. And already, we're in the middle of 2024, and they have done race distance, full race distance stints on their power plant already. They've got 22 state-of-the-art test benches running these new 50% hybrid, 50% artificial fuel motors. And they're soon going to do full race tests for the entire drive system, which is the engine, the electric motor, and the drivetrain. So you understand the sort of money they've already invested. If you tell Audi, can we just leave it for a year, Audi? You can understand. Right now, they're doing race simulations for 2026 with this tiny little engine power, 50% engine, 50% electric. And then the complication, which shows the complications of the blooming things. You're talking about cost of doing Formula One. If they went back to a V10 3 litre with synthetic fuels, they'd be simple things to design and make. But designing these things for the future.
What if Audi come in on year one and just smash everyone?
Someone going to. That's the whole point. Someone is going to. We're going to have a boring 2026 because someone. It's like Mercedes did, which obviously Lewis benefited so much from. Niki Lauda said to Lewis, Lewis, Mercedes is going to have the engine. They're going to have the engine that works. Come to Mercedes, which Lewis did. Every year, Ross Brawn, he won the world championship for Jenson Button just with his double. Someone will come up with a trick which others won't have thought of, and they'll dominate for a year or 2 or 3 because they get ahead of the game.
Right, let's go to fast Finland, because my goodness, there were flying cars in Finland. It was a very fast rally there.
Well, it's sort of the Le Mans, Indianapolis, Monaco of rallying. I think the 1,000 Lakes that used to be called, with these flat out blind crests leaping and flying all over the place. And I know maybe MotoGP will say that's the highlight of the weekend, but we're a car show primarily, so I think it's quite right that rallying is our first call. And it was just a spectacular rally.
No, we're not a car show. We're a motorsport show.
Yes, I know. I'm a car man, But it had terrible weather, rain, and so it was really tricky, really tough rally. And of course, Toyota had loads of extra cars they ran, because they brought not just their regulars, Elfyn Evans, who's trying to get the title this year and should be because he's the lead Toyota driver, and Takamoto Katsuta. But also they had not just one of their part-time world champions, they had 2 of their part-time world champions. Kalle Rovanperä, of course, a Finn who's never won his home rally, and Sébastien Ogier, the multiple champion. They also ran a 5th car for this Finnish wild card, Sami Pajari. So gave a youngster a chance, which you can't do in Formula One. You see, they added entries for one-offs, which I'd love to see in Formula One. In fact, even more than that, Jari-Matti Latvala, I forgot his name, is so long since he rallied, who runs the Toyota team, Jari-Matti Latvala.
He raced as well.
Yeah, he brought himself into the WRC2 team and raced his own little, and actually went on to finish second. He was leading, I think, at some stage, finished second to Oliver Solberg. So the team boss put out a little Formula 2 car for the Formula 2 race and came second. Jari-Matti, he's a hell of a character, always was. But of course, it was Kalle that came back and was just dominating. He was leading from stage 5 to stage 18. had a 45-second lead going into stage 19. And I've seen the video and I've tried to slow it down. I mean, he clipped the rock, but I mean, it's not like a huge boulder. I mean, it's a very fast left-hander, and he's on the road. It's not as if he's dipping a wheel off. I mean, obviously the car in front has just knocked something out, and then 2 seconds flat, he's upside down in the trees.
See, this is what I'm worried about. We'll come on to this in a minute. Where I'm going this week.
That's the
this is what I'm worried about.
But, I mean, he must have been. He didn't even have to. He could have probably missed the apex by 2 feet, but obviously he's committed to the pace notes. He's committed to the line. And if you get hit a rock, it's something Jari Mäki actually. Funny enough, in Latvia's career, he used to hit the rocks because he used to take another inch or 2 cut. He was famous for doing that. He always used to claim what I mean. Oh no, go away, please. Sorry,
but of course, that opened the door.
No, I'm just saying hello.
Sébastien
hello, I'm on a podcast, so I'm just saying goodbye. Please call back.
Of course, that opened the door for Sébastien Ogier from nowhere, from his team.
Well, he was cruising along. Yeah, they're both not supposed to be winning the championship. Elfyn Evans is supposed to be winning, but he keeps having bad luck. He was actually leading. He was the one that was leading on stage 4. So and he was, I think, he was second at the end of Friday. So he was trying to chase Kalle, but there's no sign of doing any, team orders to let Elfyn take maximum points. But then, of course, halfway through the rally, his drive shaft broke, so that put him way down the field. And then on the final day, he also lost control and stuck it in the trees. So Elfyn got no points on Sunday, in a miserable time. Thierry Neuville, who'd been complaining about his Hyundai for a long time, wasn't handling well except when it was in the ruts. He cruised through to get second place and increased his championship lead. So all these Toyotas dominating. And the Hyundai that the drivers don't seem too happy with at the moment. Tanak had a huge shunt on day 1. He was off. He's had a miserable year. He keeps on. I mean, Otto always tries 100%, and I think he's someone that, when the car's not good, he's determined to still try to win every rally by just pushing it that bit more. And off he went. And Eskapakalapi, the other Hyundai, he also was off on day 1 and into the trees. So, but somehow,
do you know what that means?
Hyundai came second.
Do you know what that means? Because you remember when I spent the weekend with Neuville and Seb Ogier. Yeah. I said to Seb Ogier about being part-time, I said, come on, why don't you just win your 9th? Why don't you just focus on it and win your 9th? And I think he's finally taken my advice, because now he's come out and said, I don't know whether this is public or not, but he's come out and said that he is going to do the last 4 or 5 rallies.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the last thing I read, he was moaning about the point system. He didn't want to come back because it devalues the championship.
Do you know why? Because he's 20-odd points behind Neuville in second place. But if the point system changed at the beginning of this year, and if it was the same point system this year as it was last year, he would only be 3 points behind. So
it's a point system. I have not bothered to work it out. You now get points for Friday, points for Saturday, points for Sunday, points for overall, and you add them all up. And I think because Elfyn went out early on Sunday, he couldn't do any Sunday points at all, so he lost. So Thierry came through second, and Tanak had that big shunt. Formo, the Frenchman, came through another podium for Ford by being clever and silly. There's Sami Pajari was 4th, survived. We were shunting everywhere. He actually won a stage as well. He's only about 12, or maybe a bit older than that, 21, 19. But, with all the big boys having trouble, 5th overall was the WRC2 with Oliver Solberg and his Skoda. And Jari Mäki was 6th overall, and second, the Toyota team. But yes, so fascinating stuff. Will Ogier now do all the rallies? You think you've heard a rumour he might? But
more than a rumour, apparently. I thought it was public, but obviously not public. But he's going to do the rest.
Elfyn must have started this year thinking, finally, I'm going to win the title. Finally, I'm the number 1 Toyota driver. And anyway.
But he's so
spectacular
talented.
Stuff.
But I just can't understand that difference in even Neuville, but then you take it up another level with Ogier, but how can it be that different on?
Ogier had his 61st winning this rally. Who do you think is leading the number of wins?
The other Sébastien Loeb. Yeah,
he's had 80. So Loeb won 80. Ogier is now on 61. I think the next down is on 30. I forget what it is, but like half wins. I mean, Elfyn's only had 8 wins. So winning world rallies isn't easy unless your name's Sebastian. But
do you know who Sebastian Loeb is racing for at Dakar next year?
Is he with Ford now? Ford brings some money.
Dacia. It's all part of the Renault group, isn't it?
Of course.
Stellantis.
Sainz has gone to Ford. Who's gone to Ford? Ford have come. Have they got Sainz in the Ford team? I think maybe. I can't remember.
I don't know, but this new Dacia, there you go. That could win with another Sebastian at the helm. Where are we going now?
Spectacular rallying. Well, it was MotoGP, the other big world championship event
you say
at Silverstone.
You said it was big, but there weren't many people there, considering it's Silverstone.
Tim Harvey did a quote saying, this is disgusting. So having got Silverstone, he said, well, I know. And there's a photo of an empty grandstand. But I've also saw another photo of a full grandstand. Now, maybe they didn't open all the grandstands. I don't know. And motorbikes in Britain, it's not a huge spectator sport. It never has been since maybe when Barry Sheen was racing, they had huge crowds at Silverstone. But it's, dipped away, no British riders at all. And I think this goes back to Liberty wanting a Mexican or a Chinaman. There is that element. You don't have a home hero. You don't get a big home crowd. And I suppose Tim was hinting that they'd charged too much for seats, entry fees. I have no idea how much it was. I don't really know what the protests are. I do know that, it's a sport that isn't big with British fans at the moment.
A couple of hundred quid. And the argument people were making on Twitter was instead of getting 40,000 people at 200 quid, why don't you get 80,000 people at 60 quid? And whilst that might be less in revenue, you make more because more people are buying beef burgers and cans of Coke.
And assuming that would happen, dropping prices doesn't always get much bigger crowds. There's a certain number that want to go to a MotoGP race, and they're happy to pay that price. Well, not happy maybe, but they're prepared to pay that price. And sometimes, dropping doesn't always get a bigger audience if there aren't that many people interested.
Yeah.
I think with Susie Perry leading the presentation team, I would have thought whole of Britain would want to go see Susie there.
But you see on the TV, and then it's free and easy.
Yeah. Anyway, but it wasn't that good a Grand Prix either. And this is actually annoying me slightly with commentators now. I'm always able to pop at commentators. I'm sorry, modern commentators. Some of you shout too much. And of course, the Olympics. Every freaking commentary, because it's their sport. They got commentators for every sport. They're always, this is going to be the most brilliant race. We're about to see a brilliant race. Well, you can't guarantee that. and so I've always said, I'd say this on paper, this could be an amazing race. But I hate it. They're all saying this is going to be brilliant. I'm going to be the judge of that. And sadly, even the MotoGP boys, the best commentary team of any, they even named before the race was, this is going to be a great race today. It's going to be a great race. And sometimes they're not. That's a fact of sport. Sometimes they're not, and it wasn't. But it was interesting. It was fascinating because we got this. We had this head-to-head battle between Francesco Bagnaia, the factory Ducati rider, and Jorge Martin, the Pramac satellite, but still a factory bike. Those three have all got 2024 Ducatis. And it's been a brilliant battle for the enthusiasts between the two of them for the championship. But now the other factory Ducati man, Enea Bastianini, has decided he's going to spoil the party. And he's not that far behind until he won both races, sprint and the Grand Prix. It was just the form rider. It was a shame that it was the beginning of last year when he got his factory ride. He had an awful crash in the Algarve that put him out for half of last year. And he's really hasn't got his mojo back or got everything back together. But now he's looking like the rider he was. And he's, of course, been dropped now from Ducati. So he's leaving Ducati at the end of the year. And he's actually going to KTM. He's taking Pedro Costa's place in the satellite KTM riders. Although all the KTM 4 riders are all going to have the same bikes. So there's going to be a satellite KTM. He should have the same bike as Brad Binder and Pedro Costa. But anyway, he was unbeatable at Silverstone. And those 3 bikes were just in another league, to be honest. They just disappeared at the front.
They look so small around Silverstone. It's not very good.
Well, I know that's why spectating. I know that's why we say that we talk about the Sachsen Ring where the crowds on top of the track and Aston in Holland, and you need that remote. I think MotoGP round to Silverstone, to Brands Hatch Grand Prix. I bet you pack Brands Hatch because it's you're just on top of it, and you need that in sport.
But I loved watching it at so superbikes, British superbikes, but at Thruxton when we went there, and because you feel so close to it, then the speed you feel everything so much more accentuates it.
Well, funny, there was a letter or a tweet I read recently. I think it must have been a tweet saying he was a bit annoyed because he would always go to Silverstone for MotoGP, and he'd go on the entrance to the Beckett's bypass. I forget what the left-hand kink. We used to be able to stand right on the fence with the bikes going under. The closest, he put in his tweet, the closest place you can get to the track is there. And now that's all been taken away by these multi-million-pound apartment block things. And apparently Silverstone said, well, not many people watch from there. But then the real true fans that know where to go, they did go there. And in fact, there's that very famous tweet film, which I think we talked about, and you found that little baby 8-year-old, 6-year-old kid. And we talked about it. He was at and he was on that very spot. And the bike going past him at 170 miles an hour into the corner. It's just, the kid freaked out.
But I
getting close. Getting close makes a difference.
Lovely little timeshares or whatever they are. Escape, aren't they? Or something, they're called something like that.
Wonderful.
They do look nice. Yeah, exactly. But if you're a true fan and you want to see a bike go past close up,
it's taken my favourite part, my favourite spot.
Where was your favourite spot over the years? Because you mentioned many times looking through the railings, the chain link fence. Close up.
Goodwood, obviously, next to the chicane, we were always there, right on the railings, right next to the cars going by.
Jim Clark,
Brands Hatch were in the grandstand at Paddock Hill Bend. Yeah, Jim Clark coming past me. And Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, it's got loads of places. Exit South Bank Corner, I'll be handing over with a little Kodak camera, taking pictures of Jim Clark three-wheeling under the bridge. Our favourite place was always Clearways, the Clearways corner. When you're really close to the track, now it's been moved back with huge gravel traps.
Nice.
But what else happened in the bike? Just really the 3 bikes in it. Bagnaia, of course, crashed in the sprint race, lost more points, lost his championship lead. Jorge Martin had the 2 second places. Dear old Marc Marquez, always never giving up. He's on the factory Ducati next year. But he's on a 2023 bike. He had a normal weekend for Marc. Qualified 7th, crashed in the sprint race and finished 4th, but way behind the front 3 in the main race. That's going to be great to have him back in the factory team next year. There's a little bit of controversy again. Oh, bikes! You see, they're getting too much aero. We talk about this. Why Ducati have got the better, and these ride height droppers. They're drag bikes off the start. None of the riders like it. None of the journalists like it. But Ducati invented it first, and so they don't want to give away that advantage. They sit about, an inch off the track. Have you watched them? The driver's knees are almost on the track.
It's crazy.
And they all just launch. And there was a horrible shunt going into turn 1 on the sprint race when Morbidelli went into the back of Bezzecchi. And the commentator was saying, was that the ride out not coming back up again quick enough for the corner? Because you've got to rely on that. Because if it doesn't ride up again, you crash. It doesn't sound. I haven't read it on the Sunday. The commentators didn't mention it, so I presume it wasn't the fault of them. But it could be. All these bloody electronics, if they don't work, they cause big shunts. And then the other thing is the aeros. So the opening lap of the sprint race, Pedro Costa got a bit too close to Brad Binder, his teammate for next year, and he knocked off his front left aero device, and at the same time knocked off all of Binder's rear aero devices, bits of carbon fibre going everywhere, which can cause punctures, and it's unnecessary. And then, of course, his bike wouldn't work. He had an aero on the right and nothing on the left, so it was like pulling right in the straights, and he had understeer. So again, it's like Formula One, isn't it? With those stupid great wings into turn 1, all you got to do is just tap into the floor of the little floor in between the wheels of the other car. The floor gets smashed up, and a wing, and 2 bikes and 2 cars, they're out. You just got to get rid of fragile little stupid appendages, which cost money to develop, make the bikes go quicker, but don't improve the racing. Right, I've got to go now, haven't I? That's it. I'm going to have a lie down now.
Yeah, please do.
So bikes have got the same problem. Too much science going into their sport, too much aero, and not enough rider involvement. Okay. Moto2.
So good news.
A British winner. I've said it was the last race of the day because they put Moto2 after. It used to go 3-2-1, but then. But yeah, Jake did a fabulous battle. Him and Aaron Canet pulled away at the front, but Jake saved his tyres, got by Canet and led to victory. A close victory. It was wonderful. Jake, because Jake was one of the favourites to win the championship this year. He had a really great season last year, but he had a crash early on and he injured himself a bit this season and he hasn't really. He's just been slowly coming back. We've been checking it out each race and finally he's got the speed back and won the British. And nobody's happier than winning a Grand Prix than Jake Dixon, who was shouting at the crowd and huge teethy grin. Wonderful, wonderful to see. Moto3 was the best race.
Well, it's epic, nothing better.
Race.
It's epic to win a race. Not that I'll ever know, but epic to win a race. But doing it on your home circuit, amazing.
Well, we all hope Scott Ogden would. And this Scott Ogden saga is getting sadder and sadder because, of course, a year ago he was on the front row. I think he qualified second, and he stalled it on the green flag lap. Had to start at the back of the 40 bike field or whatever. And this, in free practice, he was fourth fastest. He looked like he was on the pace for Silverstone. And then Neil Hodgson, the Martin Brundle, as it were, of MotoGP, just went mental because he didn't go out and do a banker lap. And whether it was him, whether it was his team, he was just saying, you're on the pace, you get a banker lap in for qualifying. Yeah. And he didn't, because he did well in the free. They have a funny system that they take the free practice results and the slowest sort of 20 go out and have to try and get the fastest 4 to go into Q2. So because Ogden was above that in free practice, he only had to go to Q2. So he didn't do any laps in Q1, which some riders obviously did, and then they got promoted. He didn't do a banker lap in Q2, and then he mucked up his lap or a yellow flag came out. And so he qualified 17th, no time on the board. Neil Hodgson was going, man, it was great to see some passion of and saying what they think, these boys. They're great commentators on MotoGP, led, of course, by the wonderful Susie. Anyway, for the first time, his problem with the races with Scott is he drops 3 or 4 places on the opening laps. Doesn't seem to get on it and get into the battle early enough. But he did this time. Got up to 12th or from 17th at the second lap, and someone fell in front of him. And he just had nowhere to go. So out of the race he went. But of course, the commentators say, well, if you bloody well qualified where you should be, you wouldn't be in the midfield pack and get taken out. So it's a real shame for Ogden, but an awful weekend. But we were left with a fantastic battle. I think it was an 8-bike, just craziness right up to the last slipstream overtaking. And there's this, they were, David Alonso, of course, the championship leader in Colombia, and Colin Vale. They were a bit up. Normally they're all smiling at the end, but I think this had been so close. There was a bit of, well, that was a bit over the top. Vio, I think, was overtaken. Ortolu won the Spanish rider.
Was it a bit NASCAR at the end? Was there a bit of
well, no. They were just for the first time ever. They sort of said that was a bit over the top because Vio was leading. Vijay was leading the Dutch boy onto the last lap. We're going into the Beckett's bypass where that little kid would have been standing if the place hadn't been taken by the 3 people. I bet there was nobody in. I bet there was nobody in the £1 million things for the MotoGP. They're probably all shut up and empty. So Ortola dived by, and then Alonso followed him just as Vejja was leaning into the right hand at the beginning of the Beckett's bypass. And so they shoulder butted each other, and he went through to take second place. It was brilliant racing, but it was pretty on the edge stuff. But that's how motorsport should be, on the edge. So good. Great Moto3 race, great win for Moto2 for Jake Dixon, and a fairly average Ducati dominated, but fascinating for the championship. So, not always good racing.
Road America, Sportscars.
Yes. Well, so this is wonderful. So Road America, it's just great to watch, even if you don't understand the racing or who's driving, you don't know any of the drivers.
How long was the race?
It was a 250 mile, about 400k, about 2.5 hours. 47 cars, because they have GTP, which is the LM hybrid cars that could also race at Le Mans. They're LMDHs, but they're called GTP in America. LMP2 cars, they still have about 20 of those, still popular one-make championship. Then they have GT Pro and GTD. So it's a 4-class thing, 47 cars, Road America, and just stunning. But it's great to watch. You watch IMSA.com, so it's free on your computer. got John Hindyhoff and Jeremy Shaw doing a brilliant commentary. But they had too many safety cars. And the Americans have brought in, which now sadly Le Mans follow, this very complex, orchestrated 20 minutes or 15 minutes to sort them all back out again and make sure nobody loses a place, then line up all the GTPs ahead of all the LMP2s, ahead of all the GTs. So you spend 15, 20 minutes with each safety car. It just goes on and on. And they had about 3 safety cars earlier on. But the 4th was just to get rid of the GT debris, apparently. And that's when I joined back in again, because I'd been watching other stuff, to watch the end of it. And I ended up watching this 10 minutes of still going round and round slowly. Because it's a 4-mile track. So if they've got to wait another lap, for something to be cleared, it just goes on. They actually showed pictures. The directors had 2 blokes all fast asleep on their deck chairs waiting for the racing to start again. But of course, when the racing starts again, and this is the American system, of course, it's brilliant, because they're all close up and they're all nose to tail. So it was a brilliant last 10, 15 minutes with the 2 Porsches battling with first Jack Aitken in the Cadillac and then fast chasing Ricky Taylor in the Acura. And towards the last couple of laps, they caught the back of the GT car, all the amateurs in them, they were weaving through while still trying to not lose their position. It was great stuff. And the friend Mathieu Jaminet took the lead for the Penske Porsches with Nick Tandy share. So Nick Tandy won the race with his
Did I ever tell you I raced against Nick Tandy? Did I ever mention that?
No. Every time I go to IMSA, I might as well start with it. Nick Tandy, who famously lapped.
No, he did not.
I'm going to check the results. You weren't lapped.
But the difference is, I was still in the top 10 fastest lap over 100-ish drivers, and I did not get a single dry bit. Nick Tandy, bone dry. Absolutely bone dry, and I was only a few tenths away. There you go. So I'm obviously as good as Nick Tandy.
In a Ford KA.
I'm joking, anyway. Nick. You are exceptional.
So great. So 2 Porsches.
I'm bang average.
Ricky Taylor got through he was about 9th on the restart. He had to stop for more fuel and put 4 new tyres on. So it was a bit of chase. It was quite a good added to it. Ricky Taylor got through to 3rd. Jack Aitken was 4th. GT Pro again, great because Ferrari 1st, BMW 2nd, Aston Martin 3rd. It's the variety. Variety is the spice of life in GT racing. It's brilliant at the moment. But of course, it's an enthusiast race to follow. A lot of pit stop strategy. You're not sure who's got one more stop to do. But if you follow the IMSA.com, it's just a great commentary. They'll lead you through. You can put your feet up, watch beers, watch IMSA Sportscars, pure entertainment. And just Road America, just to watch cars going around, all different shapes and sizes, not one shape.
Did you watch the Caterham live stream this weekend on YouTube to Knock Hill?
No.
I did. I watched a bit of that. It's always good stuff. But the big news for next week is what, Tiff?
Well, NASCAR's back. Is it that?
Bigger than NASCAR. No? Bigger than NASCAR.
World Superbikes. Raz Gatlioglu goes down to the Algarve. Is it that?
That's minor news comparatively to what I've got to tell you.
BTCC go to Knock Hill. That's the place to be. Knock Hill in Scotland.
Quite exciting, but not quite as exciting.
The British Rally Championship, the Pro Bikes are up in the Grampians. Scotland's the place to be because all the British Motorsport headlines are at Scotland. Apart from British Superbikes, I've forgotten they are at Thruxton this weekend, aren't they? Where's that missed off my list? They're at Thruxton, yes. So British, that is the place. Obviously, why didn't I say that first up? The place to be is British Superbikes at Thruxton, right?
It's hard to argue against that, actually, because that is a pretty special weekend. But I am delighted to be going to Iceland for the Iceland Hill Rally. Yeah, that should be on there.
I've crashed now.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be the only crash.
It's not on the list, right? It's not
the Iceland Hill Rally
anyway. It's not there.
550 kilometers across lava pools and
you're doing
rivers
it.
And I'm doing it. I'm doing it in a Bowler Defender. So it's for the Defender series. It's a series. It's a bit like Caterham, where they take people on and they encourage them to go through the whole series, and they get them. If you want at the end of it, if you want to go to Dakar, they'll support you there as well. So it's so it's going to be very exciting. I got
Lovecars go to Dakar next. Well, what conditions? Isn't Iceland still blowing lava all over the places and exploding volcanoes?
Yeah, there's lots of that going on. So
hold on. So let's go through what you're doing. So how many miles?
Oh, it's 550 kilometers. So it's
Is it stages then? Just like a rally? It's a rally.
Just like a rally. So two stages a day over 4 days. The first stage on the Thursday evening is just a quick couple of stages. I think it's a bit of a loosener, put your toe in the water. And then you go, I think the Friday, you do about 160 kilometers, same with the Saturday and Sunday. So,
but is it like lots of short stages or big long Dakar?
No,
style?
Big long stages. About that, many of them are over 100 kilometers, the stages.
Okay.
So for a couple of hours. So
a rally car's at the head of the field, like world rally cars.
So it is the Iceland Hill Rally. There's lots of other classes, but there's 11 bowler defenders in our class. So super exciting. I feel a bit sorry for my co-driver, Chris Hammond.
So do I. He doesn't. Has he sat with you yet?
For about half an hour. We had half an hour at Walters Arena, and we just basically were chatting most of the time. So he kept telling me to go faster, and I was thinking, I'm already literally on the limit. There's no way I'm going faster.
Have you got pace notes, or is it a map reading exercise, or have you actually got pace notes?
He's got pace notes and map. But I'm not.
Does he use a potty? Does he use a potty?
What's a potty?
I thought you might not know that. What do you think a potty is? When you were a little boy, you went to the potty, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like a potty. So because the British rallies from the olden days, amateur rallies, you just had like an ordnance survey map, and you knew where you were going, and you had a magnifying glass that looks like an upturned potty, and so the co-driver would follow the track with his potty to check the severity of the corners ahead. So instead of pace notes, you had a map and a potty.
I will get that into the story. I will try and get
you ask your co-driver on the aeroplane when you're going, have you got your potty with you?
He phoned me today. They're very professional. He phoned me today saying, are you okay with everything? Anything you need? So I'm still a bit worried about him.
How about your fitness? How about your fitness, exhaustion? And you got your sports drinks ready, masseurs? Have we got masseurs in the team?
Well, that's a good point, actually, because I've got a day to get fit because we're leaving on Wednesday, and on Wednesday I'm doing a bit of filming. So I got a day I might go for a walk, a mile walk. That should get me fit, shouldn't it?
So are we recording the podcast next week from Iceland? Half of it. Is it going to be Iceland? Indeed. Oh wow!
Yeah, live from Iceland. So we finish on the Sunday evening, and then I will be flying out.
Can we follow this on bowler.com or something? Can we follow the results as they go along? Do we know?
So that's a very good point. There's certainly no live stream because you imagine
so far film. I've come up with about 4 things that you've said are a very good point.
I've written.
You don't seem to. You haven't thought much of this through, have you?
Well, no. It's because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Because I'm so worried. I literally did half an hour in the seat at Walters
Have you got
Arena.
an open face helmet with a boom mic? Have you got the boom mic?
Stilo, amazing because they're the only ones who do the proper rally helmets that all the guys wear with them. So I dropped them a line, just said, look, I'm kind of Arai really, but have you got one that I can borrow? They said,
I'm kind of Arai.
Well,
can I steal a Stilo? Yeah, all the rally boys. Stilo is the rally.
They give me this beautiful carbon fiber helmet, brand new Stilo helmet. So very pleased. V-Box, they put a V-Box in there so we can record it.
Do you have to wear a silly hands thing as well? You have to have the handsy things, do you?
Yeah, got to wear hands. Dutch Balm, they're on the side of the door. Puma, well, you wait until you see my new Puma race suit. All white. I look like a spaceman. I'm glad it's not winter rally.
You've got a new race suit for one rally.
Yeah, got all the sponsors. Son.
Goodness. Well, the vodka will be useful at night. Keep you going. That is a rally vodka.
The vodka man, Chris, was racing at Knock Hill this weekend. And for those who don't know Knock Hill, you get a few lumps and bumps. And there's a sausage curb. He hit the sausage curb. Oh my goodness! He would have if he had a white suit, he would have had to throw it away. Let me tell you that much, because he jumped up in the air. He's a big lad as well. He's the same lad that I had the incident with years ago at Knock Hill, where we had the sort of head on. and he span around in mid-air, and the Caterham landed, and somehow he continued. He got a P2 in class. So he did very well. But yes, vodka, man, we need more vodka. We've both run out of vodka. So more Dutch Barn, please, Chris.
What do you mean? Hold on a minute. Both ran out. The last time I got my hand on a bottle of vodka, which I thought was full of vodka, was for the filming your trailer, and it was full of water.
Really bad line.
Run out.
I think it's my Wi-Fi. Had one yet. Thanks for joining, everybody.
I haven't had my vodka yet.
See you next week.
I'm still waiting.
Iceland
I haven't
Rally.
had a bottle.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.